Let's look at Rule 8. Rule 8 is action to avoid collision. What does it say? It says that any action to avoid collision shall be taken in accordance with the rules of this part, and if the circumstances of the case admit, be positive, made in ample time, with due regard to the observance of good seamanship. And any alteration of course and or speed to avoid collision shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be large and readily apparent to another vessel observing visually or by radar. A succession of small alterations of course and or speed should be avoided. If there is sufficient sea room, an alteration of course alone may be the most effective action to avoid a close quarter situation, provided that it is made in good time, is substantial, and does not result in another close quarter situation. Action taken to avoid collision with another vessel shall be such as to result in us passing at a safe distance, and the effectiveness of this action shall be carefully checked until the other vessel is finally passed and clear. If necessary to avoid collision, or any more time to assess the situation, a vessel should slacken her speed or take all way off by stopping or reversing her engines Let's just have a look at what we're saying. It says that in the rules that where two vessels should avoid, one shall take action, or in some cases both shall take action. What does that mean? That means that we've identified that the risk of collision exists. One or both vessels shall take action. That action shall be in ample time, positive, following these rules, and good seamanship. Good seamanship normally means that we would keep our starboard side clear. However, we're not totally devolved onto that situation. So here, where two vessels are meeting, under the rules, this vessel is the give-way vessel and this vessel is the stand-on vessel in a crossing situation in Rule 15. Now, a bold alteration. So, we're taking action early. Now it says that if an alteration of course is the desired effect, then you should avoid an alteration, small alterations, because I need to see a large change in the aspect of the vessel. Or this vessel can see that's the case. If I was to take action or a reduction in speed, then again I need to make it clear and in plenty of time so it's positive. Here, a reduction where the change of aspect would be noticeable very quickly. Remember that this rule applies in all conditions of visibility. So if by radar alone we can see that a vessel is slowing, it needs to be dramatic. It goes on and says that if there is sufficient sea room to take action, an alteration of course alone may be the most effective in preventing a close quarter situation, providing it's substantial and taken early and doesn't put us in a close quarter situation with another vessel. So clearly we can see here that if I was to slow down at sea speed, it takes some time. This vessel would not see a dramatic change, and all the time they are getting closer and closer to it. If, however, you can see there's nothing on my starboard side, a broad alteration of course to starboard would clearly demonstrate to the other vessel, the stand-on vessel, that I have taken action. And this being, provided it doesn't put me in a close quarter situation with another vessel or any other navigational hazard. It doesn't work for all situations, but in the vast majority of occasions, which is where it's saying in the rules. It also says in the final part that when I should take action, I should ensure that I'm going to pass at a safe distance. So it means paralleling their course and then passing at a safe distance. If I was to follow the course and then start to just bring it on the stern, then it's likely to be at that particular situation that your steering gear may jam. If it was to jam on harder port, you can see that the resulting effect is that I could well be in a collision course with this situation and very little time to deal with the situation. Are I going to deviate greatly from the course? No. In open water, I need to make sure that I am keeping the safe distance at all times. When she's finally passed and clear, then I can come back to my own course. Finally, the last section says, if I am unsure of the situation or I need more time to avoid, then I can slow my vessel so as to give more time, or if necessary, go astern and use astern propulsion. Either way, I need to navigate with extreme caution. Okay, so 8F. 8F is a situation where a vessel should avoid impeding. And it says that where a vessel should avoid impeding the safe passage of another, then one vessel shall, when required, as the circumstances indicate, take early action to allow sufficient sea room for the passage of the other vessel. So, let's say that this was a CBD and she carried the Diamond. If I was to put her onto the starboard side, it's quite clear here that I am the give-way vessel and she is the stand-on vessel. I would alter course to starboard, or whatever the action was, and let her give her sufficient sea room. If I was to meet her head on, then in this situation clearly we are both give-way vessels, but I would take action early, positive, and it may well be that I need to look and see where is the deep water channel. It may be that I alter course to port for it, or I alter course to starboard. This is a head-on situation. If I come onto the port side, however, this is the situation where the majority of situations for confusion develops. Under the rules, I am the stand-on vessel under Rule 15, because this vessel has me on her starboard side. But under Rule 18, where it says a vessel other than NUC or RAM, I shall avoid impeding the safe passage of a vessel that's constrained by a draft. This puts me in a different situation and changes the observance of this particular rule for this situation. Clearly, I am the stand-on vessel under the rules, but I should take action early, positive, so as to provide sufficient sea room for this vessel. So, what I must do is I must take action early, positive. Now, what must she do? Well, under the rules, she should maintain her course and speed with caution, knowing that I am going to take actions because that's what I have to do under the rules. But she needs to be prepared to take action if I don't. The second part of the rule helps me decide what action I'm going to take. It says, a vessel required not to impede the passage or safe passage of another vessel is not relieved of this obligation if the approaching the other vessel so as to avoid risk of collision, and shall, when taking action, have full regard to the action which may be required by the other rules of this part. If I can translate that into everyday English, it says that although I am the stand-on vessel and she is the give-way vessel, I shall avoid impeding her passage, her safe passage. In this case, I need to take action early, positive, to prevent this vessel from having to take action because she is obligated under the rules as the give-way vessel. So here, what can I do? If I was to alter course to port, would that be allowed? Well, under the rules 17 of the stand-on vessel, it says that I shall not alter course to port for a crossing situation for a vessel on my port side. So clearly I can't go that way. If I was to alter course to starboard, then one has to look at this situation and say, where is this likely to develop? Well, it's likely to develop in a coastal situation, roadsteads or parts or traffic separation schemes. By altering course to starboard, I haven't cleared the situation because I still have to take further action. So let's go back to what the Rule 6 said. And the Rule 6 said that I should take action, I should maintain my course at a speed where I can take effective action and be stopped within the prevailing circumstances and conditions. So clearly in this situation, a coastal or in a port situation, I will be under manoeuvring speed and have my engines ready for immediate manoeuvre. A clear situation in this would be to slow down and provide sufficient sea room for this vessel to go through. If there was going to be a close quarter situation, I could alter course to starboard and slow down. That being my second answer to a situation like this. Our best situation in the orals, however, is to say and not tie yourself down to any situation, because you need to do a chart assessment and a traffic assessment for each and every situation. Here, in this case, I should avoid impeding the safe passage of a vessel that's constrained by a draft. Although I'm the stand-on, I would take action early and positive so as to provide sufficient sea room, and stop at that. If the examiner wants to push you, then I could go on and explain what actions I might be able to take. The third part of the rule says that the vessel of a passenger which should not be impeded remains fully obliged to comply with the rules of this part, where two vessels are approaching one another so as to involve collision. So here, if both vessels are approaching each other, this is still the giveaway vessel, and so am I under Rule 17. There are other situations where avoid impeding comes in, and we'll look at those a bit later on. Rule 9, Rule 10, and to a certain extent Rule 13.